We got Erica Enders heading into the NHRA U.S. Nationals, the 70th annual NHRA Nationals. But before that, we're going to check in with Jim Halsey, talk a little bit about the upcoming YellowBullet.com Nationals. Let's do this thing, guys. Listen, I've never had any problem expressing my opinions, but what we're doing here is bigger than that. These are conversations that need to be had in an unfiltered way. Drag racing's all I've ever done. It's all I care to do. I respect the history, I appreciate how far we've come, but I want more for this sport, and I'll fight for it. It's uncut, it's unfiltered. This is the show of shows. The biggest names in drag racing. No holds barred. This is the great American motorsport. Drag racing. Prove me wrong. I'll wait. Hey gang, Wes Buck here, Drag Illustrated Magazine, checking in. It is Wednesday, August 28th, 2024. Hope you're doing well out there. Huge shout out to all of our show sponsors, Redline Synthetic Oils, Stroud Safety Equipment, FlowRacing.com, Racers Club. Appreciate you guys being a part of this deal and helping us spread the gospel of drag racing every week right here around Ye Digital Drag Racing Water Cooler. Mike, JT, we got a barn burner of a show. A lot to cover, man. It's kind of unbelievable how much, again, we say this every week, but I can't ever seem to shake it. We're like in the thick of things. I mean, it's almost record-setting season, which is without question when there's a little chill in the air, when it's a little crisp, and we're going to the racetrack, it's hard to beat it. But it's still 106 degrees here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. But I'm hoping that things are going to change in the coming weeks, everywhere. And we're going to find ourselves in that fantastic air that we all love to race in.
It's going to be hot at Indy too.
It's going to be
Friday.
Hot,
it's supposed to be like 95 degrees, but then by Monday, it's in the 70s. So interesting to see how these guys are going to tackle that changing conditions throughout the week. When you have a race that's as long as 95? Indy, you got get ready. Don't roll into that with a hangover Friday morning, JT.
No, bro. But I mean, I think that's kind of the challenge of Indy, right? Like, I think that was one of the things that I wanted to talk about today, was just kind of explore what makes and what. There's a lot of people that point to the U.S. Nationals. I mean, it's the granddaddy of them all. It's the big go. It's all these things, 70 years strong. I mean, I don't know how much. I don't know that we have enough time here or in the next month to really allocate what is necessary to provide context to what is the NHRA U.S. Nationals. But we've talked about it here on this show before, that I think there's a lot of drag racers that if they had their pick, they would choose to have an NHRA U.S. Nationals trophy on their mantle over any other reward that currently exists in the sport of drag racing. And Mike, I mean, you talk about the changing conditions. Well, I mean, of course, they're going to change over the course of 5 days. I mean, this is an event that spans essentially an entire week outside of Indianapolis, Indiana. I mean, I know that the time on property adds to kind of the magic of the whole happening. You just spend so much time there. It's almost like you get some little bitty baby roots planted. But what do you think it is that makes, I mean, is it simply history, 70 years of doing it, 70 years of tradition, or does it run deeper than that? Or is it the many magical moments that have happened there over the years? Is it these coming out parties that we seem to have had? I mean, what do you think it is that makes Indy?
Probably a little bit of everything. I mean, it's the prestige of it. It's the fact that it's the really only race that's been going on now consecutively for 70 years. I actually picked that up from our buddy Brian Loans on his podcast earlier this week, that it's due to COVID, really, because some of the longer running races did not run in 2020. And if you go back to 2020, when we basically ran the entire season at Indy, if you remember that, it's the longest running. So I think it just has like that direct connection back to history. And we, anytime we think of Indy, we just see instantly black and white photos, and you can, you see the photos of Garlets and these old dragsters, and you can still kind of see the general layout of the track and the stands and everything, and the Well, what used to be the tower now is the shipping containers, kind of a throwback.
Yeah,
it's going to have a throwback look this weekend. So
I'm here for it.
Yeah,
I was actually selling myself on it earlier today. JT, I'm not sure if you have this photo. Do you have the photo? You should actually throw it up in the.
It's also
shipping containers. I mean, like it's literally 2 shipping containers on top of each
It's
other.
Nicely painted. And they got some signage on there. It doesn't look half bad, but
boy,
Indy, man, it's not
but it is a throwback, and it's like
it's not a glamorous place. Like it's not.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It's right in the middle of like a cornfield area, right? It just doesn't. To me, it looks like it's remained the same for so long, and you can go there and feel like it hasn't changed all that much. Now it's going to have a major renovation, and they're going to kind of bring this thing into this, I wouldn't say into the century because it has had some upgrades, but it just seems like it's been there and been unchanged in large part for so many years. So I enjoy going. It really, it's one of those things like, why do you enjoy going? Why do you love Indy? You hear people complain about the length of it or the weather or this or that, but yet everyone loves to go and wants to go and wants to be a part of it.
Drag Illustrated, what is Brett's job title? Vice President of Sales and Business Development, I believe. But Brett was telling me, he goes, man, anybody who's anybody is at Indy. And it really, that kind of says all that you need to hear, because he's like, anybody who's making a decision, who has a real foothold in the sport. It's on the calendar.
They're circling it on the calendar. I think for our, favorite class, Pro Modified, they've had 2 months off, and these guys have been sitting around, they'll go on vacation, just chomping at the bit to get back to racing. So, and you're going to see I think 28 cars are on the entry list for Pro Mod this weekend. You're going to see a slugfest there trying to qualify for those 16 spots. So that,
and I heard
that's
about
really
like
got
900 cars total, right?
Yes, I mean, and it's probably
sounds like you're
over
making that
number
up when you say.
I know
it
really
does,
totally
but I mean,
sounds
I've heard it several times now. So
and it's, I don't know, I tip my cap to them. Like the NHRA, without question, is everybody's favorite punching bag. Like everybody loves to bag on them, but there is no doubt that they are in many ways the tip of the spear for the sport of drag racing, and they set the standard in so many different arenas. And event organization, I got to give it to them, because trying to even manageably run 900 race cars, even across 5-6 days, whatever, I mean, that's a huge undertaking.
That's why they start on
everything goes
Wednesday.
Perfect. If everything goes absolutely perfect, it would still be a huge challenge. And they weave in like a fairly well orchestrated show, like very well orchestrated. I mean, that's the thing that I think racers really, and this is a little, tidbit, that every racer that I've ever talked to, when they talk anything about the NHRA, they always point to the schedule. For whatever reason, drag racers are married to that schedule, and they love the notion of knowing that if first round's at 2 p.m. or whatever, I mean, that's not an example that's, for this weekend, but just in general, they expect it to happen at 2 p.m. And that
we know
that
from
standard
our
is, we know that standard has
we
been
can
set
do
by NHRA.
Is publish that schedule, that daily run schedule. I mean, they're going to burn the motorhome down if we don't get that thing.
Speaking of motorhomes, there'll be about 900 of those there too.
Yeah.
Yes,
I mean,
there will be.
It's wild how many are there. I mean, while we're on the subject, I guess, I mean, we love us some Indy, we love us some Pat McAfee, and I think you guys saw.
Oh, yes. This is a great way. For those that don't know, the Pat McAfee show, which has absolutely exploded, early humble beginnings with Barstool Radio, transforms into its own podcast, eventually gets its own YouTube channel, and is eventually a part of the ESPN family of programming. It is inarguably one of the biggest platforms that exist in sports. Earlier this week, yesterday, actually, Tony Stewart, Leah Pruitt, Matt Hagan, the whole Tony Stewart racing operation. It looked like the entire team was there. I saw Ashley from the PR team, saw Matt from Dodge. I saw a slew of people there posed up out in front of the Thunderdome, the home of the Pat McAfee show. But Tony Stewart, Leah, the whole gang got to go be a part of the show. They put McAfee in the car for a little while, let him warm this thing up. You can see him if you're watching along on YouTube or Facebook. Pat McAfee climbing in between the frame rails, between that funny car cage there on Matt Hagen's Dodge Direction Connection funny car,
which is probably built pretty wide for Matt.
Yeah.
So that's good because McAfee's a pretty big dude.
If Matt can fit in it,
this cracked me up, man. He starts turning the wheel and cranking on it.
Yeah,
like, I don't know.
Yeah, you're doing that.
Just so you know, Pat, we if you've got to do that, we're done.
You're in trouble.
You know?
Yeah, he looks like
the
one of those
only thing
outside of a grocery store where you put a quarter in the little ride, and your kid gets on it.
I like his hair's all wrecked.
Phenomenal work. I just want to hit that thing, one time.
Yeah. See that? Okay, there we go. If Scott Palmer was involved in this, he'd have got to hit that thing one time. And I will tell you, having done it, it is a life-changing experience. And that was absolutely spectacular. Mike, JT, both you guys are huge stick and ball sports fans. The McAfee show, what this has achieved in a relatively short amount of time, I mean, it is, like I said a moment ago, without a doubt, one of the high points of all of ESPN's programming, especially when it comes to the talking heads and pundits and hot takes. This thing, it's like a 3-hour block every morning. Unbelievable what this guy has done. How big is it for the sport of drag racing to be on that platform? And actually, for those that don't know, I mean, this is the second time this has happened.
Yeah, Tony's been on there twice. I give really all the kudos to Tony, and obviously his relationship with Indianapolis and probably a previous relationship with McAfee. But that's why people love McAfee. He's like the people's champ of talking heads for stick and ball sports, and he'll do something like this. You're never going to see Stephen A. Smith or Colin Cowherd or something doing what McAfee did. So it's like he's approachable,
and
reachable,
that bridge in,
and Tony is that bridge. Yeah,
that type of people, that's what we need.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's always been. I mean, if you look across the landscape, you need more of those. We'll try, and I have tried, and I've started down that path. Maybe Josh Hatchett from NHRA could help us out. JT, maybe throw out a little phone a friend thing. It's like really great to have Pat McAfee at Drag Illustrated After Hours at PRI this year, which will be absolutely lit. We got some major announcements coming up in the coming weeks for what is this, JT? The 10th annual running?
Something like that. Oh, I've lost track.
I think this is
any more than this, I'm gonna run out of fingers. So
yeah, exactly. You know, we'll have to start using our toes,
but start keeping count.
To run out of members. But anyways, a huge deal for the sport of drag racing, and like just to see our sport, those cars, like those sponsors. I mean, what a moment for Dodge. I mean, if you think about that, that's one of the things that I like, the added value to being involved with Tony Stewart's drag racing team is that he's going to be involved in moments like that. I think you're right that, Tony's involvement there locally in Indianapolis and how big of a impact he's made in that community, obviously probably kicked some doors down. But I do got to give kudos to the NHRA media department for helping organize that, because
Josh
we talk about, we need those
Josh
reach outs happening.
Josh makes quite a few of these things happen. Josh has a love for mainstream sports like that, and he's made like some first pitches for baseball games, bringing a lot of these athletes to the track. We see a lot of that, WWE stars, football and basketball, baseball stars to the track. So that's really cool. There you go.
Start putting tally marks on
my room.
Sport. There's room, and you'd still look good.
Yeah.
To be honest, it's fine. There's plenty of space, man. It really wouldn't even detract. Well, hey guys, I know this man's busy. He's got a huge event coming up this weekend. The YellowBullet.com Nationals taking place at Cecil County Dragway. This is in many ways, and I'm not like trying to stir shit, but it's like the anti-NHRA US Nationals. I was always somewhat scratching my head when Monty Miko and the gang there at Yellow Bullet put this event together, which we'll have to ask Jim exactly how long it's been. But I mean, Yellow Bullet had this, they were a drag racing community before drag racing communities were really fashionable.
It's been like 15 years now.
I mean, it's
close to that.
And I remember when this whole thing was coming up, and it was always kind of anti-establishment, and that's like the magic of it in many ways. It's become a fairly mainstream part of the drag racing world, but it still has these outlaw edges. And to see what it's become, and really being birthplace to people that go on to achieve drag racing stardom and become, somewhat of household names in the drag racing community, it's incredible what this event's become. And to see the way we talk about this all the time, and I can't beat this drum enough, like when you have that perfect storm of an owner that's invested, the promotional effort that is required, and then the local fan base and those local roots. I mean, that's when magic really happens, because Cecil County is a racetrack that has supported the heads up movement for a long time. They were running 10.5W cars when no one else in the country was running these cars. I mean, they were providing a home to this type of grassroots outlaw drag racing, and the local fan base, the local racers, they have not forgotten that. And it has kind of, that was the foundation of what this event's been built on. As he gets ready to get the show underway out there in Maryland, let's give it up for the one, the only Daddy Shark himself, Jim Halsey. What's going on, buddy?
What's up, Jim?
Just a hot day in Maryland, that's all.
As always, right? Tell us, man. I mean, we were just talking, Jim. How long has it been that you guys have actually been doing the YellowBullet Nationals? I couldn't think of it off the top of my head.
15 or 16. I think this might be the 16th year.
Unbelievable, man. Did you ever think, I mean, tell us, for those that don't know, Monty Miko is this very colorful character that was kind of, he was the outspoken guy in the room before there really was a room. I mean, it was crazy what YellowBullet.com become.
If Facebook was around, he would be in Facebook jail permanently.
Permanently. Yeah. I mean, I found myself getting ripped to shreds on YellowBullet.com all the time. And it was like, I mean, it was such a thing. I mean, it was unbelievable how big it became. And I guess it only made sense that it would eventually become some sort of event, Jim. But what was it like when Monty first rang your phone and wanted to do this deal? Like, did you say maybe we're onto something, or this is a bad idea? What, I mean, this is the, what was their slogan? Gosh,
where the weak are killed and eaten.
Where the weak are killed and eaten. Yeah. Yes, that is it. Yes, thank you. Were you worried?
Well, you know, Monty's uncensored, and everything he does is pretty much off the cuff. So, you know, if you don't like what he says, he doesn't really care. We hit it off very well. I didn't realize it was going to be this big for this long of a run, but it's an awesome event. Look forward to it every year. We got over 200 cars on the property already right now for testing starting tonight. So really looking forward to it.
No, it's crazy the amount of fanfare you get for this event. You know, Cecil County, you guys put on your fair share of big events. How does this event rate, like, in your ecosystem, like throughout your year? How big of a needle mover for you guys is this event? Because you have people camping there all week. People come from all over the country to be a part of this event, because it kind of goes beyond the racing, right? I mean, it's like a weekend party with a bunch of your favorite drag racing outlaws and outcasts.
Yeah, I mean, it starts, we started parking yesterday at noon. It's by far the biggest event we have of the year, car count-wise, spectator count-wise, financially. It's good for the community, you know, the hotels, restaurants around here. I mean, tonight, when we finish testing, there'll be people hanging out, having beverages, campfires, having a good time. It's a big party.
Is it still kind of the anti-Indy vibe? I mean, that's kind of what it was started as, but has that kind of gone by the wayside and the event has kind of taken on its own identity, or is it still this anti-Indy deal?
I don't think it's anti-Indy.
Or not anti-Indy, but it's like the, you know, if you don't feel like you belong at Indy or you don't have a class that competes there, this is the place for you.
Yeah, that's probably pretty much it. I mean, we've recruited quite a few people, local guys that run stock, super stock, maybe would go to Indy, are coming here now. It's close to home for them. It's a killer event. We have a killer racetrack for them. I mean,
and you guys are doing upgrades. I mean, I've seen on your post, you've got some new bleachers coming in, and you're kind of continually improving the facility, and that's kind of plays into this. You said this is your biggest event financially. So when guys roll in there every year and they're seeing these improvements, are you getting that kind of feedback from your crowd?
Oh yeah, everybody we talk to, they see the improvements. Like, a lot of these guys only race here for this event. And the changes they see from one year to the other, they're very happy, and it seems like it's drawing more racers.
There's a great comment here. It says that YellowBullet is basically the Brainerd race of the outlaw drag racing world. And I think that that's fair, because it seems like every year we're treated to a slew of social media posts of people, you know, sleeping under their trailer or wherever they were sitting last. But don't you think that that's kind of the magic of these events? Like the events that you look forward to every year, like all of them, there are so many great events, but it really does seem like the ones that kind of reach that next level, Jim, are those ones that go beyond the racing, that it's like it's a community happening. Like if you're not there, you're hearing about it from all your friends that were there. It's like the neighborhood party that you just can't miss. Like how important of a component to the success of the YellowBullet Nationals do you think that party atmosphere is? Because like, let's not downplay the racing. You got badass racing, but I wonder, we have badass racing a lot, right? So it's got to be this community part that really changes things.
I think without the social part of it, the race would be a flop. I mean, there's a lot of places you can go watch good racing, but you can't hang out half the night and drink with your buddies and carry on and get up and do it again the next day. So without that part, and that's really, I think, was the big driving factor at the beginning of the series, was the social factor more than the racing stuff.
Yeah, because it's not so buttoned up. I think that was more, Indy is the corporate buttoned up race, at least in their perception, and this is more of the party, the family reunion, backyard party with your friends.
That's right.
It's interesting because it for me, I can't help but look at this whole thing and, rather than taking sides, for me, it's more rewarding to step back and go, we were just talking a moment ago about 900 some race cars being on the property at Indy. Like, it's absolutely unbelievable what's about to unfold in the greater Indianapolis area. But to think about a sport that has the type of participant and fan support, to have another event going on, obviously in a dramatically different geographic location, but still draw hundreds of race cars and tens of thousands of fans, you're going, this is a good time to be a part of this sport. I mean, there are huge events happening all over our country. And I mean, I can't help but step back and go, considering kind of the doom and gloom that you see everywhere else in the world today, it feels like our sport is thriving right now.
Oh, I agree. I mean, you figure you'll have 900 or 1,000 cars at Indy. We'll have probably over 400, maybe over 500 here for this event. So that's 1,500 drag racers in just 2 locations. So, I mean, with us losing tracks left and right in our region, we need to keep everybody happy and keep them coming back.
And think about, we spent a little bit of time last week just talking about like the economic impact or the industry impact. But like, think about 1,500 people buying tires, buying wheels, buying spark plugs, buying all the spare parts, buying race fuel, getting their stuff freshened up before they start the, kind of championship rounds of the season. I mean, just the amount of business that is created on the back of those 1,500 racers alone, talking about 2 events in the country that amidst hundreds, I'm sure, right? Because it's almost everybody's got a holiday. Most drag strips have some sort of holiday weekend function. So there's racing going on all over the country, 400 some odd racetracks. And you can't help but feel like pretty proud, I think. Like, I feel like this is a moment for our sport where we can all kind of stick our chests out and be proud of what this whole thing has become.
Oh, without a doubt. Not only racetrack wise and parts and fuel and all that stuff, your local businesses, your hotels, your restaurants. I mean, it's a win-win for everybody, even the community.
Yeah, there's no doubt, man. I mean, you hit the nail on the head there, man. That was something that we've often labored over, is that it's great when these local businesses are overflowed or flooded with customers and
it's a relationship, between the track and the businesses. That I think is missing a lot of times. Those businesses may not even know what's going on, but I'm sure you work with your local businesses, restaurants, hotels, and they're aware that this is coming in this weekend and capitalize on that.
Yeah, they actually start calling us in November, December to find out what our schedule is for this year so they can plan accordingly. So
yeah,
it's pretty amazing.
Talking about investing and money being spent, we got $50,000 to win Pro Mod this weekend, and I'm trying to rack my brain right now. I think, Jim, you might be the last remaining original nitrous Pro Mod racer that's still out there doing it, and that has raced only nitrous the entire time, hasn't switched combinations. If you can think of anybody else, let me know. But I think it might be down to just you at this point.
It's only maybe a couple of us at best. So yeah.
And I noticed you guys are running a rule set pretty similar to what we did at World Series of Pro Mod, but maybe doing something a little bit different with the turbo combination. So tell us a little bit about that and what cars you expect to be there this weekend, what you're looking for performance wise, and how you see kind of this whole, I guess, conundrum that we're faced every time one of these races rolls around, a big money Pro Mod race where we're throwing every combination together in one field to balance everything out?
Well, it's tough for one. It's not like the PDRA where you can run boosted cars against boosted cars, and us nitrous guys are running each other. I mean, we have to figure out a way to make us faster so we can keep up with the pro boost cars, and that's what we tried to do with our rules. I mean, it might slow the boosted cars down a tick, but with the weather we have coming, I don't know. It's going to be pretty fast.
So you think it's going to equal out a little bit with the heat? Then it'll slow those guys a little bit. Nitrous guys will be able to compete a little bit more than, say, when we get into the mine shaft conditions?
No, actually, I think it's going to be better for the boosted cars because tomorrow and Saturday, or Friday and Saturday, it's only being upper 70s. So it's it's going to
it's going to get cool there too. So
yeah.
Cold fronts moving across, right across the weekend. Same thing's happening in Indy as well.
Gotcha. We have, I think, 3 nitrous cars here right now. Myself, Mike Achenbach, Matt Deach, Tommy Gray, the Undertaker's here. Melanie Salemi's here. Derek Ward, our World Series champ, is here. So we have some pretty badass guys here that's going to be a tall order to take home the 50.
I mean, if you just got to win, if you've got to beat those guys alone, and yourself included, you better pack a lunch.
And I don't think we've had Jim on since World Series of Pro Mod, since that epic final round and that whole drama. I mean, can we talk about that a little bit? Because it's still just the dominant subject on World Series of Pro Mod, and really, took a day of eliminations that I think kind of was, I don't want to say routine, but we were just flowing through eliminations, and then that happened, and that's really been all we've heard about. We focused on it a lot when we recapped the event in the print magazine. So you were talking about Derek there. Is there a little rivalry going on? Do you want to try to line up against him in qualifying or beat him in eliminations?
You want to get that one?
What's the relationship there?
Relationship's great, but I'd still like to kick his ass.
Yeah, I tell you what, man. If I had $1 for everybody that has reached out and said, like, man, Jim had the car to beat. He was the guy. He was the guy. And it's, to me, I'm proud of it because I'm excited to have people like you a part of the story that is the World Series of Pro Mod and what will soon become the Drag Illustrated Winter Series, because you need heroes like that. And you need guys that have been this close, that have the desire to come back. And like every year when I talk to you leading up to the World Series of Pro Mod, you're always like, we're working on something specific for that race. We want to win that race. I've got a special relationship with that race. And it's like, for me, that's what makes me get out of bed in the morning, right? Like, because I'm going, there are people that care so much about winning these events and what they mean and what they represent in our community. And I feel genuinely proud that you're a part of the history of this whole event. And I can't wait to see you run it back. But it is cool to hear you even refer to Derek Ward like the World Series of Pro Mod champion. It's like, I've heard that when I was out in Virginia at the season opener or the second race. I think.
And coming from a guy
it's cool
that, had he chosen to just make that solo pass, would be the World Series of Pro Mod champion right now instead of referring to Derek.
At all.
Oh, I know. But I mean, that's sort of the story, that was your choice, and
it's a part of the magic of this whole deal, and it will forever be a part of like folklore. Because to be honest, when I hear you guys talk about YellowBullet, an event that's been around for 15, 16 years, like that's what I want, that kind of history. When you talk about the U.S. Nationals, 70 years, like I want someday when I'm dead and gone for people to be talking about these iconic moments. And Jim, I got to give it to you, man. I gave you the choice right there that night. There's a great video of it. Shout out to Flow Racing for capturing it. But it was like, no, we want a drag race, right? And it's like, in those moments, those are the guys and gals that you want to be a part of this, that are there for the right reasons and want to deliver for the fans. Because, I mean, to me, it's like a fight that could have been stopped if one competitor was ready to stop. It's like, no, we want to see a fight. We came here to see a fight. And what a magical moment, man. Thank you, to be honest. Like, thank you from the bottom of my heart, man.
Anytime. I mean, another thing is look at how the community looks at how that went down. I mean, I got a lot of people that emailed me, texted me, called me about what a stand-up move that was. But, I mean, even knowing the outcome today, I still wouldn't change the decision or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, we had some great photos of that were printed in the magazine. You know, right after the run, you go up, shake hands, and then you're kind of walking away, hands behind your head. You could see, you know, obviously the pain of that loss in the moment, but it's cool to hear you still say, you know, this many months later, I'm sure you've replayed it over and over in your mind, that you still wouldn't change anything.
Nope, wouldn't change it for the world.
It's an amazing moment, man, that will like literally go down in the drag racing history books, I think, as one of the real highlight moments. But so take us through, give us the rundown of classes, and kind of, and we'll send you off. Jim, I know you got to go get ready for an event. You got people piling up there. So just tell us real quick, like we've got Pro Mod, as obviously we talked about, 50,000 to win, but what else do we have on the docket?
We have Pro 275, that's 20,000 to win. We have Limited Drag Radial, 10,000 to win, I believe. Ultra Street, 10,000 to win. 850 Index, Top Sportsman. We have 10-0 Index, quarter mile. And we have Pro Dot, which is a Pro Tree bracket race quarter mile. And we have the local group here, the Warriors. I'm sure you're aware who they are. But I think that the Warriors, I think, pays 5,000 to win one class and a couple thousand to win the other class. Everybody else is between 10 and 50,000 to win.
Pretty incredible,
Big
man.
Chaos, man, across the board. I think even 850 is 10,000 to win. So I mean, correct. It's a big payout. Was it $1,000 entry on Pro Mod? Your entry fees are fair, and then the payout's huge. So another huge event at Cecil County, coming off the back of the one you had earlier this year.
Yeah, we try to keep it reasonable so we get to spend time with all our friends here. I mean, we see a lot of these guys on our monthly streetcar shootout series, but this is our Indy, we'll say.
Is a Coors Light or a pizza included with that? Are you dishing out pizzas and Coors Lights from the Halsey pit? Only for nitrous guys. I like that, man.
I like that, man. I was literally just telling my wife the other day, like I said, man, Jim Halsey makes these pizzas on his barbecue grill. So what are you smoking those things? It's like a little portable pizza oven. Is it a portable pizza oven?
Mm-hmm. It's an Uni pizza oven.
Uni.
I'm
gonna write that down because I was telling her, I was like, dude, he makes these pizzas that like look amazing, and it's like a thing in the pits with Jim. Like we've got to hang out with this guy more because I'm a pizza guy.
It's pretty good stuff. It's not good for my car weight, but that's Brandon's problem, not mine.
Exactly, man. Yeah, you only live once, brother. Jim, good luck this weekend. Thank you for all you do for us, man. We look forward to you guys having a barn burner of a weekend at Cecil County. Good luck at the YellowBullet Nationals. We appreciate you, brother.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Yep. See you, Jim.
Thanks, buddy.
See you.
Talk soon. Dude, it's crazy. I mean, if you really think about it through the lens of these two massive events that represent like really dramatically different groups of people or like different parts of our world, I mean, that is a pretty proud moment for us, right? I mean, because I just don't know in how many other sports that aren't like high school athletics where you're seeing that many people.
What's more impressive, 400 or 500 cars at Cecil County or 900 at Indy? I'm almost more impressed by Cecil County.
It is almost more impressive.
That's going to be like 10 pounds of shit in a 5-pound bag in a good way.
In a good way, man. No, I'm looking. I think it's a fantastic thing that we have these two like polar opposite happenings in the sport of drag racing going on the same weekend. And it is kind of funny that it's like this anti-NHRA thing, but it's really always been YellowBullet is like anti-establishment. That's always what it was. Unfiltered,
I was nervous to click on that damn site when I was young. For who knows what you would find or find about yourself, like you said, Wes. I mean, it was no holds barred.
Those forums could just get. I mean, not just
they were out of control,
but yeah.
Oh, YellowBullet
back in the
dude.
day, man, like they'd run your life.
No,
YellowBullet 1,000%
ruined some lives. I'm sure some people are permanently in therapy based on.
We could probably do an entire episode of this show just dedicated. I'll tell you, I remember. Oh my gosh, we've had a handful of moments with YellowBullet where I get wrapped up in something. We had a deal one time with a photographer that got into an argument on there, and it was, I mean, it was legit, no holds barred, man. I mean, there was very like little to no moderation. So whatever was said there in, I mean, permanent. I mean, and it was a really, really, really wild time. But I think back to it, I have advertising customers that we still work with today that talk about how YellowBullet put them on the map. or YellowBullet crushed them for 3 years because they had some sort of issue with somebody and it took off on the forums. And
it was like the first place that the internet gave people to like voice their opinion. It's the first soapbox that everybody had before social media.
This is a good analogy here between YellowBullet
So
and Double O Shit Show. Yeah, Double O Shit Show is kind of continuing that tradition on Facebook now. But the Facebook moderators, how have they not caught on to Double O Shit Show yet? They must be paying. David must be paying. Must be slide money to Zuckerberg under the table.
They must be.
Everybody else was.
Yeah, what's Zuck's doing, man?
Yeah, everybody else is paying him come to find out. Yeah. So hell, why not?
Zuck's making his heel turn, man. He better watch his back. He might end up.
I wouldn't get on a yacht in the Mediterranean or anything.
He might get Epstein.
He still did what he did. You know, it's like I heard someone say yesterday. It's like robbing a bank and then like, okay, I'll give you the money back now that you caught me.
No, it's not. It's saying, you caught me. But no, I'm not in trouble and I'm not giving you the money back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I think that's actually probably a closer because it is like a very interesting.
Let's taking a picture.
Yeah. Who was that? Before we bring on our next guest, though, because I think she can give us a lot of insight and feedback. Let's play this crazy ass video of Lyle Barnett's experience this weekend at Alabama International Dragway.
You want to bring her on and have her just watch it with us?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Do that.
Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, perhaps the greatest of all time. I would say without question when it comes to door slammer drag racing, the one and only Erica Enders. What's up, Double E? What about this hat? She's got the brand new Racers Club.
I'm an ambassador for this awesome brand. So.
Oh yeah, well,
huge checks rolling in from that. I know.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, Erica is literally that lounge she's sitting in right now. That's shout out Racers Club. Yeah. Just paid for with all the royalties she's making on the back of slinging merch. Erica,
I'll buy you a beer in Indy.
Yeah, JT's got you for a beer.
Yeah, that's your bonus.
Yeah, well, she's got all the outlaw beer she could probably drink.
We do.
That's true. I'll drink your beer. Let's rephrase that. And then I'll
do that anyway, JT.
Yeah, you're going to do that anyways. Erica, we did real quick before we dive into all sorts of conversation around the 70th annual running of the NHRA U.S. Nationals. We did have a very scary moment this past weekend in Steele, Alabama International Raceway. We had Lyle Barnett competing in TJ Pruitt's Night of Fire, the dragcoverage.com Night of Fire. Very scary, Pro Charger explosion, huge fire. JT, roll the clip. Not as loud as I thought the actual explosion of the Pro Charger would have been.
Yeah. Well, that's terrifying, isn't it?
From just a small fire under the cowl to fully engulfed in like less than 10 seconds.
Good job on Lyle there, getting out of there.
It did melt the door off the car during in that short amount of time. It melted the door off the car. Erica, you've been in a situation similar to this, but at 250 plus miles per hour in the quarter mile in Norwalk just a few years ago. What do you make of just these situations? I mean, especially for someone that I know is near and dear to the heart of the Elite Motorsports team, was a part of the team for many years. What was it like watching a friend go through a moment like this?
Well, not to mention what he's already been through. It was an awful experience for me personally. I was at home in Houston and my sister called me like at midnight and I was like, that's weird. So I answered, something's wrong. And she's like, Lyle just had a horrible fire. He got out, he's okay. So I hung up the phone with her and called Lyle. And it's something that's always in the back of your mind, right? It can happen. It's part of the program and what we do, unfortunately. But thankfully, he's okay. I feel like I've watched that video probably 50 times, and he did a masterful job. Like, that's not something that you can practice because you always hope that it never happens. But from, the whatever happened, it exploding, him, hitting the chutes, throwing the transmission in neutral, getting it stopped, you can hear the brakes locking up, and he's reaching back to pull his fire bottles, and you can hear the hiss of that as soon as he stops, steering wheel off, window net down, and he's bailing. So I watched it, and I told him, I'm thankful he's okay, that I love him, and he did a tremendous job. You cannot bail any better than that, and keeping the car off of the wall. You can't see, you can't breathe, and it sucks. But all of these things that happen, my sister and I were talking about this, like all the rules in the rule book are made because something went wrong for someone else. And as an idiot who just wants to drive a race car, our job is to make it better than we found it. And whenever we had that fire in Norwalk, I got dubbed the safety princess and got all these letters and hate mail, Facebook messages, whatever. But when I got out of that car and I was okay, it ended our season in Pro Mod. We set the world record on that run and it burned the car to the ground. And we had some rules implemented. I got Rick Jones and we went to NHRA Tech and we said, these are the things that we feel like can make it safer. And the first thing I noticed in Lyle's car was when he hit the window net, it fell down when you hit that latch, because when you can't see and you can't breathe and your adrenaline's going, you're in a panic, you just reach and it falls down. And that was kind of the biggest problem I had in my car, is I couldn't get my window net down because it was those old plastic seatbelt buckles, like in a 57 Chevy or something, and that had melted and I couldn't get it down, and finally it came down. So that was one of the rules that we had changed, and I love that it just fell down and he could get out. So anyway, long answer to your question, but fire sucks. It's the worst thing. And that carbon, the sound of the brakes, whatever's happening in the car, the smell of the carbon fiber, it doesn't ever leave you. And then Lyle had fresh air, luckily, so he didn't have to throw up carbon fiber for a couple days. So that was awesome. I'm just so thankful he's okay. He is a legend. He is a true badass, and I think a lot of people can learn a lot from him.
I've got two questions, because one of them, just to your point, I mean, we say here that rules are written in blood, right? I mean, it's a sad thing, but it's a reality that, every time one of these rules or regulations is added to a rule book, there's typically some sort of human damage that has been done that has driven that decision. But all that considered, Erica, I'm just curious, the conversation that I've been having is a lot about how safe our sport really is. I mean, considering how fast these cars have become, that we're a long ways away from when a 4-second car was fast. I mean, a 3-second 8th mile car, if it's got big tires on it, for sure, is seemingly the norm, but a lot the case in small tire, like street cars. So considering that we've got Bob Tasca going 340 miles an hour in funny car, we've got all these, I mean, it seems everybody's got 1,000 horsepower street car. Do you agree that, all things considered, it's kind of incredible how few and far between these moments seemingly are?
I agree. I also think it's unbelievable how many times everyone successfully gets down the racetrack, thinking of every part and piece that goes into it and the number of hands that touch it and how much trust you put in your crew guys. So yes, it's beyond me that it is as great as it is, because it's definitely tough. But the safety thing, I've always mimicked Jeg Coughlin, because he's in pro stock. He was always the head of the game, and he did things safety wise that other people weren't, because they weren't a rule. And I just always have followed his lead from, the right side window net in my car. It's really not on a window, but over the trans tunnel, just in case you're flipping around, it keeps your arms in, and wearing a mouthpiece, not required, other things like that. We wore a Hans device before that was required as well. I mean, just in my 20 years in pro stock, you look at the rule changes that have happened from, sitting in a carbon bucket or an aluminum bucket as your seat, to having these molded seats, to having Hans devices, and all the different safety implementations that have come through in the last 2 decades. It's been fun to be a part of, and it's been fun to watch.
There's no doubt, because I think about that too. It's like a carbon fiber bucket a couple of inches off the ground was like the common thing. I mean, and it's still in a lot of race cars, that's the case. But it is amazing how far our sport's come in what has been a relatively short amount of time. I mean, 20 years, I mean, I'm sure for you, a 20-year career feels like forever, but in the grand scheme of things, a lot has happened in a relatively short amount of time. I mean, we've gotten to a point where, these things are as safe can be in many ways. And it's, I think it's something that we should all be fairly proud about. I'm curious, it's been an interesting 2024 for in drag racing in general. I mean, we've seen all sorts of exciting things happen. We've seen incredible performances, some fresh faces arriving on the scene in a variety of places, but we've kind of seen the usual suspects going head to head in NHRA Pro Stock, the ongoing rivalry of Team Red versus Team Blue. If you don't know what we're talking about, of course, Elite Motorsports versus the KB Titan Camp. We saw you guys go on an incredible run, 6-7 races, was it, in a row that an elite car was in the winner's circle. We saw that that momentum somewhat slightly altered at the NHRA Lucas Oil Nationals in Brainerd, Minnesota this last weekend, or I guess a little over a week ago now. I mean, what's your lay of the land as we go into what we all know is Erica Ender's favorite time of the year, the countdown, when the men are separated from the boys. This seems to be where you're right at home, but like, take us to this moment and kind of your lay of the land getting to the U.S. Nationals.
It's definitely been an interesting year. I'm not quite certain that you can top the awful start to the season that we had in 2023. But we've actually tried to duplicate that with my car personally. But we set off with a bang, right? Winning the Pro Superstar Shootout, which was like the most awesome drag race I've ever been a part of. Then leaving there and going to Gainesville and winning the Gator Nationals for the first time in my career, which is obviously on my bucket list. And from there, been to a couple of finals, but remained winless through this point in the season. And a lot of that is on my shoulders, unfortunately. It was so lovely to be brought to my attention on the broadcast last week that the last 13 events I've lost on 6 hole shots. And obviously that's not something that I take lightly. It is not a pleasant experience as a driver, but it comes with the territory, right? And what people probably don't think about or whatever, this is a brand new car for me. So I've been making some changes to get more comfortable in it. I'm on my third board seat. And finally, before we went to the match race for C-Tech in Wisconsin, I finally got comfortable. I spent a few days, almost a week at Rick Jones' shop up in Galesburg, and they cut the floorboard out of my car. They did everything to get my car exactly like my world championship car that Jerry Don's driving, because I won 4 of our 6 championships in that car. So why we didn't have it like that from the start, I have no idea, but it took us this long to figure it out, and now I'm comfortable in Brainerd. While I didn't get past the second round, my worst light of the weekend was like a 31, and that was way better than my best light earlier in the summer. So again, long-winded answer to your question. This season has not met my expectations, but I also have to try to put things in perspective. And, just because we've been winning in years past doesn't mean that we get to keep winning. It's a work in progress, and driving a Pro Stock car is by no means an easy task. I learn every single run. It's extremely challenging. And that's what keeps me coming back all these years is I love the challenge of having to be as perfect as possible every single run. So I feel extremely confident. I've had a great race car. We've qualified on the pole a number of times this year. Ingersoll and Tim Freeman and the guys give me a really fast car every single week, and I've been the one that's let them down. But I have a renewed sense of self-confidence and confidence in my equipment heading to the U.S. Nationals. And as you mentioned, this is our favorite time of the year. We've been fortunate enough to win Indy 3 times, runner-up a handful of times as well. And I'm excited to go back for points and a half, but come Reading, we're going at it. And it's my favorite time. I love when our backs are against the wall. I love when the pressure's on, because nobody is better than my team. And I believe that wholeheartedly. And Ingersoll texted me last night. He said, "This is our time. It's our time to shine. It's you and me against the world, baby girl." And so it's like, it just kind of fired me up. And we're at Tulsa testing today. So that's kind of why it's weird background and all the loud noises, but we're just, we're ready to go.
It's hearing that is fantastic, because I think sometimes, like, there is this belief, I think, you hear the pro Camaro, right? And as if all these cars are just exactly the same and there's no nuance to what's going on out here. Like, I think that's like a really interesting storyline, or something that we could probably dig into a little bit. Like, is that, I don't know that the average race fan really understands that, like, you get a brand new car, and even though it's built on a similar jig, or it's built on the same jig, or it's built by the same chassis. These cars have nuances. So is a lot of it about getting you comfortable, like physically comfortable in the car, or is it like making leverage changes or linkage? I mean, if you're willing to share, Erica, I'm just curious, because I think that people, I think by and large go like, oh, they bought another tube chassis Pro Stock Camaro that's a 110-inch wheelbase, single frame rail. Like they're fairly, but that really isn't an accurate description of what's happening, correct?
It's not the Pro Camaro thing. I'm so sick of hearing that, but yeah. I try to put it in a different perspective, or give an analogy that somebody that plays like a stick and ball sport would understand. It'd be like going to tee off on hole 1 at the Masters with a brand new shrink wrap driver, like you've never hit it before, or being Tom Brady and throwing the same size, same weight football with the same number of laces, and then changing the whole thing and expecting him to throw a touchdown pass the first time the ball leaves his fingers. So trying to describe that without sounding like a butthead, it's very different, and each car has its own personality, and you have to learn that. And I'm thankful that part's my crew chief's job. But yes, feeling comfortable in the cockpit, whether it's a placebo effect, it's all right here, right? Whatever the changes that have to be made to make me think and feel okay, and we finally got that done. So yes, it's the car. There have been new rules implemented in Pro Stock. The seat and seatbelt configuration's different, so I can't use my seat that I love so much, that I've been using for the last 5 years. I had to pour a new seat. All that stuff plays a little bit of a role in like foot placement on the clutch pedal, and your clutch linkage, where your bell crank is, and where your clutch fork's located. Like all of that stuff is stuff that, you know, over the last 20 years I've worked on and tried to perfect. So yes, it's definitely tough to break in a new car and to get comfortable. But after Brainerd, I finally feel a lot better.
I think you could almost sense it like across the board that like the car, you were performing up to par, like up to what we've come to expect from Erica Enders. The car was running good, and you could kind of feel like, okay, they've got, despite, like you said, going out in the second round, it felt like things were coming together in a hurry. And I want to touch on something else, just the competition level that exists in Pro Stock. I mean, you guys had half the field under the Elite Motorsports umbrella, half the field it's going into the second round, like massively impressive performance from all these relatively fresh drivers, the Quadra boys. You've always got Jeg and TJ Coughlin to worry about, as well as Aaron Stanfield, who I would argue is amongst the best in the game today. But I'm just curious. I mean, you talk about losing 6 out of 13 races on a hole shot. I mean, with the competition this close, I don't know how bad you can beat yourself up, Erica, because it's like, we're seeing races with damn near identical elapsed times. There's more emphasis across the board. Like the expectation on drivers today is greater than I believe it's ever been, at least in terms of reaction time. What do you make of the competition level that exists? Because it seems like we have parity, it would seem, across the board. Like everybody's making big steam, a lot of fast cars, and it's probably going to come down to who can get it done under pressure on the starting line.
Yeah, I will agree with that. But also, when I started Pro Stock racing, I was blessed enough to compete against Warren and Kurt Johnson, Alan Johnson, Mike Edwards, Bob Glidden even ran some races when I was driving. So, those are like the baddest dudes on the planet ever.
It's crazy to think that you're in this rare air of having played in like it's like an NBA athlete or something that like played during the Jordan era, but also during the LeBron era. Like, yeah. You know what I mean? Like you've seen both sides of this, like the traditional kind of rough them up basketball, and then the finesse game that we have now. Like, cause that's really what you're talking about. I mean, because and I don't mean to make light of that, because you earned your stripes against the best to ever do it in many ways. So I'm sure it's different, Yeah.
It is different. And I didn't think you were making light of it, but I don't want to discredit the guys before us, because now, and this is kind of the direction that we have hoped and wanted Pro Stock to go, right? Like I hate the word old, but I'm an older person in Pro Stock. It's full of a bunch of younger kids, and we've done that. We've changed the game. Richard Freeman, obviously at the helm of that, and forcing Greg Anderson and the guys at KB to get on board with it. And making it something that is attainable, because before you look at pro stock and you're a comp racer or a super stock racer, and pro stock is like what we loved, right? Growing up bracket racing, and you just viewed it as, oh, I can't ever afford to do that. Well, we've made it affordable, right? It just depends what you think affordable is, but it is the cheapest that it's ever been, and like more than half of the price that I paid at Victor Cagnazzi's back in the early 2000s. So it is affordable, it is attainable, and we're proud to have done that. So the game has changed, and racing with all these young guns, I mean, you have to bring everything that you have up to the starting line, and that's something, you know, throughout my career that I've really prided myself on, and double E, double O, right? But also things have changed, and this is something that the general fan doesn't understand. So before they type a hateful comment or send me an email about why my reaction time sucked, they should try to understand what all is going on. And collectively, like with EFI, with new track prep, with the tire that we're running, blah, 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 with all the new horsepower we're finding and more torque, like the car, we're leaving almost 1,000 RPM lower. And if there are any racers listening, you know that every 100 RPM in leave is worth X amount of thousands or hundreds in starting line advantage. So a lot of things play into that people don't necessarily realize. And as far as parity goes, I know I probably think you were talking about drivers, but like manufacturers, instead of people being hateful online, let's be a little positive and think about how the manufacturers have ducked out on us. And we run what we have to run. And Richard got the rule change where you could run a Chevy in a Ford or a Dodge, because those manufacturers, Ford and Dodge, don't have the parts to go build a pro stock engine. So while you have the Dodge and Ford lovers out there, and I drive a Chevrolet, so I bleed the bow tie, but you have to think about all the things that play into it and why the class is where it is. It's not because we're all Camaro lovers or whatever. It's because aerodynamically, the way that snout is, I mean, everything plays into it. So there's like a whole lot of things to look at instead of just, you know, oh, I hate Chevrolet, this is boring, it's a stupid class.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's like it speaks to this bigger issue that like so much of our sport is like entrenched in the cars, and like we're in like a rare, like, and we were kind of on an analogy run here, but going back to basketball, it's like nobody's a fan of Spalding basketballs. Right. You know what I'm saying? No one has like an eclectic taste for 1976 burnt orange leather. You know what I mean? Like that's not, 100%. Nobody's passionate about the tools they're using, right? But we're in this weird space where the cars are like the supporting actor or actress. Like and I think that what it tells me is that we've got to do more work making this about the stars, making this about the drivers of the cars, the human beings. And I think like I said, I think it's a special place because we're probably one of I think you could maybe make that comparison in music, because there are plenty of people that are like really into music, but they also really know a lot about instruments perhaps. But like, it's the focus is on the person playing the guitar, not the Fender Stratocaster. Right. And I think that like drag racing, I mean, for 100 years, it would seem it's been where the cars are the stars. And I think that situation, the whole Pro Camaro situation, is kind of rooted in this old fashioned thinking that the cars are the stars, because I'm here to tell you they are not.
Well, I could not agree with you more. And this is what I love about you, Wes, is that you get it. You can step back and see past the tip of your nose, unlike a lot of people that are involved. And, you know, Richard Freeman goes to bat for you a lot, and he is in your corner more than you know. But I think a lot of people, including NHRA, should take note of your mindset on all this. And I believe in my heart, that's why your races are so successful. It's because you love what you do and you believe in the product, and the product isn't always the cars, right? It's the stars, and you make it all about people. And that's what has been lost on a lot of things, in my opinion. So I love that you said that. And I love where your heart's at.
I appreciate it, that I truly do believe that, because I think about, like, there's a lot of comparisons that are drawn, you know, between NHRA and what the Street Outlaws No Prep Kings deal has become a decade in and whatnot. And that has so little to do with racing, but racing has benefited from it. And I think that that's sometimes we like gloss over that as a community, because it's easy. Like, I'll hold my hand up and be like, it's easy to be jealous of those guys, right? Like, they've achieved like a certain level of stardom that is typically reserved for like the Real Housewives of Orange County or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, it's pretty incredible what it's become, but it also demonstrated to me that drag racing can be the medium, or it can be the background. And that, I mean, I look around our sport and I go, hey, listen, there's some big characters and big personalities in that scene, but go to an NHRA race, go to a poorly attended one, and you will see just as many hilarious, impactful characters that have really incredible stories. I mean, think about just the people that exist like in your circle alone, and all the tales of triumph over tragedy, right? And the tales of beating the odds and coming from, I mean, there's a lot of incredible stories in the pits of any drag race in the world, I would say. But I mean, there's plenty of characters to go around. And I think if we just steered those cameras, you know, away from the slow-mo tire shake shot for the 17th time, you know, to a passionate response or a passionate reaction from some racer. But I don't know where we would be. We're going to find out. I promise you that. We're going to find out. But do you feel that? I mean, you're one of the drivers that often does kind of wear your heart on your shirt sleeve and say what you think, you know, whether you're on a platform like this or a platform like Fox Sports or whatever, you don't seem to pull punches, and you've taken heat for it at times. What is that battle like? Because I do think that, like, as much as I can argue that we need to have more focus on the stars, we also need the stars to play ball, right? And I think that that's part of the problem that exists, like in the NHRA today, is that you've got an NHRA that badly needs these guys to play ball, but they've created an environment where that's not really going to happen, you know, because it's, and so anyways, like, do you feel that, like, cause I can tell when you turn it on. Like, I've been around you away from cameras, and one of my favorite stories was calling up my hero, Shannon Jenkins, the Iceman, a IHRA Pro Modified legend. And I remember asking him if I could get a couple of words from him. And in between drags of a Marlboro Light, I could literally hear him change from Shannon Jenkins to the Iceman. You know, like it was literally like a different tone that he spoke with. And I see a very similar thing in you. What kind of pressures do you feel around like putting yourself out there as a character, but also like dealing with the backlash?
So I obviously wasn't always like that. And racing here at Elite has changed a lot of things for me, because I have a group of people, and not just the guys that work for us or, you know, Richard, but our partners also. We have been blessed to be aligned with people that have the same core values as us. And I'm not going to get in trouble for a political post, whereas if I had like this huge crazy corporate deal, like, you're not allowed to say that. And all of those things play a role in it, but I've definitely come out of my shell the last handful of years, quite frankly, just because I'm sick of getting run over. And it's a tough line to walk, and I hate the female thing. I steer away from it as much as I possibly can, because I'm just a racer. But it's different for a girl, because if I pop off and say the same things that I say and I'm a dude, it wouldn't be looked at twice. But because of the Disney thing and starting off as a young kid and never saying crap with a mouthful, like, I set it up to be this one way, and now I'm, you know, I push back a little bit. I'm still politically correct, and I'm still try to mind my tongue as much as I can, unless I get really mad. But it's tough to, you know, live your life in a per se fishbowl. Like, you're judged instantly. Your race car performance is an instant report card for the entire world to see, and then a mic is shoved in your face when your emotions are the absolute highest, whether it be something positive or something extremely negative, because the lows are low and the highs are so high. So it's definitely tough, and I do catch a lot of backlash for it. But I also, without trying not to sound arrogant, I've earned that. Like, I've been out here my entire life and sacrificed a lot, as everybody else does. I'm not saying I'm the only one, so don't send me that email either. But it just is a tough line to walk, and I try my very best to do it the best that I know how, like with God at the front and the people that I love. As long as my family and my team and the good Lord aren't disappointed with me, then that's all I really need to care about. So very tough line to walk, but I'm not.
Well, because you're a badass. If you were like a dude, right, that popped off.
My blue card.
Right,
I feel like I do. I earned it.
Yeah, but it's like if you were like some of the things that I've seen you post, like if you were Royce Lee Freeman, you're like, oh, Royce Lee's he's a badass. But because it's you, it's like, what a bitch.
She's such a bitch. God.
Yeah, and it is kind of interesting that you have to contend with that. And I've enjoyed it because and I'm not a big like bicker on the internet guy, but I do think that like especially your top end interviews where you're like very candid. And I ask drivers and racers just in general all the time, like all we want is to know that you care. Right.
Yeah.
Because that is really it. And everybody can express that. Like my wife can give me a look and I know, right.
Yeah.
Like I know, so it doesn't take much. You don't have to be like some wordsmith that's going to crank off a Stevie Jackson or John Forrest one-liner. Right.
Yeah.
But like all you got to do is just demonstrate that you care. And I think that every time they, Amanda Busick or whomever from Fox sticks a mic in your face, I feel like we know you care. Like you can see and feel and hear the emotion. And that's, I think, really all that we need. And what NHRA needs more of is that it has gotten pretty corporate down there, like get out, plug whoever you need to plug and then move on. I see people like run away from the camera. And it's like, no, you, as much as that thing will point at you, stand in front of it. Don't get out from in front of that camera until they turn it off, And it's like, everybody's like, well, we're going to be back up here in just a few minutes, I think, and dark, and it's like, no, this is your moment. But it's great to see you embrace it the way you have. Do you feel like that? What's your take? I mean, obviously a big season for the NHRA thus far. I mean, we've seen a lot of great crowds. We saw some sellouts to start the season. Car count is specifically in pro stock has been strong. I mean, what's your kind of overall lay of the land, like headed into record setting season, as we call it? I mean, what's your take, like kind of state of the affairs? We're just getting ready to send our, what is it, Mike, 190? Is this 189? 190. Drag Illustrated 190. You've been on the cover of 5 of them, Erica.
I love it. And I have every single one of them hanging on my wall because I'm proud of it. So thank you for that. But the first part of your question, to finish up what we were talking about, like you want these personalities, you want people to be authentic, you want emotion to be real. You don't want it to be manufactured in WWE or whatever. But if you want the racers to be that, then quit shunning them when they are like that. Quit taking the mic away from them when they say something that, might not be totally trick. It's what they're feeling at that moment. And if there are a lot of natural rivalries, believe me, we don't have to manufacture them, especially in pro stock. So I would love to say more of what I feel about that, but I won't. But all that stuff is authentic, and everybody's just like, oh, he's such a great racer, good job, blah, 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 and hug and kiss at the end of the track. Well, no, like, let's throw some bows sometimes and whatever, but you can't want that and then punish them for doing that, in my opinion. So, I made a mistake at Indy last year and popped off at Amanda, but I had asked her 3 times to not ask me that same negative question. And the 4th time she did, I had enough and I popped off, and you would not believe the hate mail that I got for that. And Amanda and I are friends and we're fine, but there's also got to be, a little bit of respect there, and it's good and it's over with. But that's just an example of, like, people don't know what goes on behind the scenes, and everybody's human. And I was having a really bad weekend that weekend, and it just, all the things loaded up, and the question wasn't that awful. It was just a straw that broke the camel's back. So anyways, finishing up on that topic, I think that if you want that, they should let them be that way. Let us be that way. So
agreed.
But where we're headed, I think drag racing is alive and well. I think the Pro Steamer Stock Shootout, I was so proud of that race. Like, I was privileged enough to work behind the scenes on that race with you and Richard and the team at Pro and the team at Flow, and to see the amount of work and the amount of hours that went into planning that race and then see it come to fruition. And I would have the same opinion of that race had I not won it. It was awesome. The atmosphere was just electric. It was unbelievable. And the drone shots that you guys had, it just, like, it goes to show you that when a team of people swim in the same direction, that are passionate and love something so very much, like, what can be done with it. So I love the direction that we're headed, and I obviously love drag racing. So
yeah, it's what's not to love, I would argue. What's not to love? It's the great American motorsport. Well, Erica, thank you so much for joining us, talking a little bit about Indy. We're looking forward to seeing you, the whole Elite Motorsports group, and everybody at the NHRA US Nationals this week in Indianapolis. I'm anxious to see you continue to get your groove back and watch things unfold at the granddaddy of them all, the US Nationals. Thank you, Erica.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on, and thanks for all your kind words. We certainly try to make you proud, but we have a lot to look forward to this weekend. A lot of our partners are going to be there. Sienna Wildgust is back. She's out here making runs right now with Jeg Coughlin and TJ. So all hands on deck in Indy, and other really cool things happening on Thursday when we land. I'm going to get fitted for the top fuel car. So there's just a lot of really great things coming to fruition, and I'm excited about it. So we're going to give it our all, and we'll see where we end up. If it's good, then great. If not, we'll come back and try again next year.
That's all you could ask for. Thank you, Erica. We'll have to have you back on here whenever we have more time and we can talk a little about this top fuel thing. I told Richard I'd trade that son of a bitch in for a pro mod right now. I'd call him up and be like, hey, man, I said, hey, listen, love those guys, love fuel racing. God bless it. But if you want to be part of the real shit, son, you probably need to get something with swinging doors on it, And so,
you know where my heart's at, and I wouldn't leave what I'm doing to go do that or pro mod. Those are my choices. But we're gonna try something new and see where we end up.
That's all we can ask for. It's a great thing for the sport of drag racing. You in the sport is a good thing. Thank you, Erica. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, Wes.
Oh my goodness, guys. Well, hey, let me take a second real quick and remind you that each and every episode of the Wes Buck Show is brought to you by way of our friends at Stroud Safety, the world leader in drag racing safety equipment. Log on to StroudSafety.com today to get yourself some 100% American-made safety equipment. I just got myself a fantastic new one-piece fire suit from the gang up at Stroud. Check this out. I told Tommy Cunningham, the owner of Stroud Safety, that I was getting ready to go make some shakedown runs in my new race car. I said, I want to get a Stroud suit. What do we need to do? Hey, look, because we're short on time, I'm just going to send you my suit. The guy gave me the suit off his back. Can you believe that? I mean, it even says Tommy Cunningham. It's embroidered on the chest of it. Sent me his own fire suit, got me a brand new set of Stroud fire boots, got Stroud belts in the car, got a Stroud blanket on the car, got a Stroud parachute on the car. Support the companies that support the sport of drag racing and support your boy here. So anyways, log on to StroudSafety.com today. Mike, JT, what a deal, dude. Do you believe, I can't get over how much shit Erica seems to get from the masses. I think she gets, I bet she gets more email or more volume of commentary than anybody perhaps in the history of drag racing. Do you think that that's true? I bet it's probably true.
Yeah. And I mean, she's not afraid to let us know about it too. And so it's a combination of that. And like you said, I think that was a great point, that if she was Royce Lee Freeman or anybody else, she'd be like, man, that dude's a real badass for saying that. But when she says it, it's
don't get it
180 degrees.
Don't get it twisted though. As soon as someone comments against her, speaking of Royce Lee Freeman, he'll be in those comment section defending her.
Yeah, she's got a good she's got a good backup.
She rolls with the right crew.
Yeah, she's got a good squad.
It's whenever, especially if you're running into trouble, they're a good group to have.
Yeah, that's the squad you want.
Yeah, that's the squad you want. No, anyways, I just think it's interesting because I do think that if you look at because we really don't have much like real drama in the sport. You know what I mean? If you think about it, the highest levels of the NHRA,
what Erica says, we need more. Erica was talking about that deal with Amanda Busick last year. If that is the most controversial thing that we have going on, and it sparks all this shitstorm of comments or whatever, I think that is not a great sign for our sport. I mean, because there's a lot more crazy stuff happening in every other sport.
What do you think?
We're very sensitive to that. I
think it's a sensitivity, because I think about it like
it's because everybody's close to the fire. We've talked about this before, where there's just very little separation between driver, crew, participant, official, sponsor, media. I mean, some people have worn all of those hats. It's sometimes simultaneously.
Because if you say something, it's like a small town, right? Like, it's
like
going to get back. It's small enough that you got to deal with it the next time that you're there. It's so.
And then we
it
allow
really
that
is
to
interesting.
kind of dominate. Whereas sometimes it's like, let's not be like that. Let's not be small town. Let's try to rise above that. And
it's
and
like
use
time
it
to
to our
play
advantage.
big at some point. Because again, not to like wear out the Street Outlaws, analogy more than we perhaps already have, but it's like, I think that they were like willing to play big. That like, I think that they like embraced stardom and kind of walk the walk and talk the talk.
The
on
entire
day
show
one,
is a bleep, 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 bleep. Can you imagine if any NHRA broadcast contained a single bleep? I mean,
well, it's like,
but do you know what I mean? Like they just owned it, though.
They did, and the hate that those guys got right off the bat, especially from the racers. I mean, we had them at the DI after hours party, or they came to the DI after hours party, and we kind of had to put them in a booth with somebody at the door because there's so many racers just wanted to talk shit to them, that we basically.
I just think it is kind of interesting, right? Because they did, and I think that that's the thing that like we're missing right now. And their only way to achieve this, and like we take a lot of shit. I take a lot of shit for the commentary about the Pro Mod versus Top Fuel thing or whatever. I don't care really. Like I prefer door cars. Like it's just a personal passion of mine. I think they look like cars. Like I can give you 101 reasons for why I like Pro Mod, but it's really not about that. It's about like a pathway to the future. Right? Because I think about the only way that we're ever going to create this environment that we're talking about right now is you need aspirational culture. You need the guy that's trying to make a statement. Like most of the people that are operating at a high level in drag racing, they paid to be there. You know what I mean? So like they're either trying to keep this guy happy or whatever, but they're not in a situation where they're like their performance would outweigh any sort of like negative that came with it, right? It'd be like sponsoring a UFC fighter or whatever. Like the UFC has plenty of problematic fighters, but they're the baddest sons of bitches on the planet. So we've got to deal with their baggage, and they're willing to deal with ours because of this opportunity that we present. So I think that like when I think about the problem is that there's no money being made. That's the issue, is that it's like we've got to create an environment where there's an opportunity to make some money. I
also think that we're like, just going back to Erica, a little bit slow to give somebody their flowers and say that they've earned the right to do that. I mean, and I love hearing Erica say, at this point in my career, I mean, we all would put her on the Mount Rushmore of pro stock, right? And it's debatable that she, is the greatest of all time, right? So it's, especially in this modern era, where she's earned the right to say that. And she's not afraid now in this point in her career to say some of this stuff. So she admitted right there that she's been gun shy in the past, but at this point she's not afraid. And anyone that argues that, I think is lying to themselves, and they should embrace that and say, yeah, Erica has earned the right. There's a lot of other guys out there. I think of Matt Hagan, Ron Capps, any of these guys at this point, a lot of these veterans that have that same level of success that Erica has had, have earned that right to do it, but it's just, are they willing to embrace it? I think Erica also has a position where she's enabled by Richard himself and by her position, she's very close with her sponsors. All of them are long-term or are very close to her, and they know what they're getting. So they've, kind of told her, we want you to be yourself as well. And she's able to kind of, at this point, come out and make those comments. Whereas early in her career, you think back to the Victor Cagnazzi days, Slammers, Milk, some of the other early sponsors she had that I'm sure were much more corporate and unfamiliar, where she couldn't do that. So I think it just takes time, and you've got to get in the right position where, if you think about like a Matt Hagan, he's sponsored by Dodge. He's got the Tony Stewart deal now. He kind of can play that same game. And there's some other guys that I can't think of off the top of my head, but it just takes time in earning that right and being close enough with your backers to allow them to have you that, or give you that voice.
And I think like a motivating fact, I agree with you completely. But on top of it, I think that there needs to be like some sort of motivator or some motivation that exists. Like, why would I put myself out there? Right. Exactly. Like, why would I go out on a limb? Because like Erica is one of a handful of people out here that are actually earning their living drag racing. I mean, a lot of these other people, I mean, we had Aaron Stanfield on here a couple of weeks ago. He works at his dad's engine shop, right? And he drives race cars and whatnot, but like he's leaning on sponsor partners to afford that opportunity. He's not someone out here sponsored by Nabisco getting paid $250,000 a year, $500,000 a year to drive a race car. And like, then But so I feel like we've kind of got to start widening or like broadening our horizons here and thinking bigger. That it's like, I think a big part of the issue is that we're all just like thinking about how to pay for it. Like, how can we get enough sponsor support, or how can we generate enough eyeballs to offset the expense? But until we get that equation to involve pay for it and make money, like, we're always going to operate in this like perpetual hobby state.
And I think you see some try, like when JR and Lyle are going back and forth, and Ricky and Stevie Jackson.
Those are guys doing it for love, though, right?
That's right. I mean, they are, but maybe that's the start of something. That draws eyeballs.
But that's
where
Pro
it
Mod
starts.
too.
That,
and that's why Pro Mod is beautiful.
Mod.
That's why Street Outlaws has been great in that regard. I'd love to see it. I love to see Erica bringing that to Pro Stock. I want to see more of that. Either rivalry with her and Greg Anderson. Back in the day, it was more fierce. I think they put it away a little bit now, and it's much more mutual respect, or whatever you want to say. But yeah, we need more of that at the top levels. And I think it's a scarcity mindset, I think, is what you were saying a minute ago, Wes, where I'm here, I've got this great sponsor, I'm doing, Nitro Funny Car, it's my dream. I don't want to say a single thing to screw this up. Yeah. And I feel like we've been in that little box for a while. And then it even translates to the broadcast and everything, where those guys have to really stay within a box. We're not allowed to get outside of that and really show any personality. That's why we talked about to Bruno last week, that piece they did with him and Jordan Vandergriff, kind of embracing the zoo. So refreshing and great to see. Whereas before, in years past, don't talk about the zoo. We know it's awesome and fun. We talked about YellowBullet with Jim Halsey, that it's more about drinking beer with your friends and doing, whatever crazy stuff than it is drag racing. That's okay. And it's okay to talk about that and, bring that to the forefront and not be so buttoned up.
I couldn't agree more, man. I just think it's part of it is it's such like this weird conundrum of trying to take a sport that is so rooted in hobbyists, people that do this as a hobby. But I do think that there's room in our sport for there to be a professional level where like sponsors exist and millions of eyeballs exist. Like I don't have to look at, even what NHRA's achieved, what we've seen Street Outlaws become, and the variety of like very mainstream YouTubers that we have that are in the automotive space. Like cars, the magic of the automobile still exists. We've just kind of, and I think actually it's increasing. Like I just look around at the cars people drive and the pride people take in their vehicles, and, the status symbols that cars still are. Like, you don't got to look much further than a Tesla Cybertruck, to let to know that somebody's trying to tell me something, right? You know what I mean? With their vehicle choice. And I think that that's like an important thing that exists like very strongly today, but for whatever reason, the purest form of automobile racing like lags behind across the board, right? In fanfare, event turnout, like these things, like there's more for us out there, but we got to start like changing our goal, right? Like start trying to get 50,000 people to the next race, not 5,000 or 500 or whatever the case may be. It's an interesting time for sure. So let's run through real quick. We've got a crazy week coming up. Tomorrow night we'll be over at Cruz Pedregon's in Brownsburg, Indiana for his annual car show and autograph signing session. JT, Mike, and myself will all be there. We'll be filming, I believe, a special episode of Who You Got with Elon Warner and Rex Zimmermaker from Winlight Bets. We've got every freaking celebrity under the sun, it would seem, in the motorsports space going to be at Pedregon's for his annual endeavor. I'm looking forward to that. We got a full day of drag racing Pro Mod hitting the track on Friday. Looking forward to that. We got a special shootout taking place this weekend, the SRI showdown taking place, a little bit of a race within a race. Pays $7,500 to win for the NHRA Pro Mod teams. I think, Was you said earlier, 28 cars. Was that the final count?
Yeah, I think that was on there like yesterday or 2 days ago.
That's a hell of a field for the NHRA US Nationals. I think we're going to see some of the usual suspects, but also a crop of fresh faces. Let me pull up the list here and see if there's any surprises. Excited to see Stevie Jackson back out there. The Stevie Jackson legend was obviously born on the outlaw 8th mile drag strips of the Southeast and kind of continued to develop in Orska and ADRL and PDRA, but really took took it to a new level when he achieved championship level success in NHRA Pro Mod. So I think it's fantastic to see Stevie back out behind the wheel of the Motion Raceworks Camaro.
And is that the first time that he's run this thing quarter mile?
This particular car, I believe that's correct. I watched it. He had a video drop last week on his YouTube channel, showing that they had actually chosen to go with a root style supercharger from Chuck Ford. Excited to see that combination, but yeah, I think this is the first time that it's been raced to the quarter mile.
You've got just some names that jump out. Brandon Snyder. We haven't seen him, I don't think, in the J&A Service 69 Camaro. I think it's pretty much, the standard crew beyond that. Dwayne Wolf, Tony Wilson, Billy Banica, Paul Dagrapont,
Mike Stravinos, I believe, debuting that new 69 Camaro with that you guys just wrapped.
Yep.
Who else? Mike Thielen. What is this? Our Soul Nitrous car. Our boy Mike Thielen. Is he the Soul Nitrous car?
Looks like it, man.
Soul Nitrous car. Very interesting. What does the car counts look like in Top Fuel? We got, my gosh, I wish they would number
this thing.
These
doesn't say, does this list, am I just missing it? Does it say how many, doesn't have these entries numbered. So unless I
20,
count this up.
We got 20 in Top Fuel. Funny car. I'm trying to look for any fresh faces that I'm not. A lot of the usual suspects. I'm excited to see.
Did we hear? I admit I did not watch Shake and Bake, but did Lyle talk about what he's doing for a car for Indy? Has that?
I didn't get it all, but he picked himself. I was watching long enough when he picked himself to win. So
yeah. I didn't hear like any final official announcement or anything yet, or am I just under a rock?
Let me pull it up.
Somebody text Lyle right now. Oh, Courtney's saying Jose's car.
Is it going to be Jose's
she
car?
Said, thanks for watching. Sorry. I try to watch every week.
I watched some, yeah.
I watch it.
We had a monsoon come through and lost power and about that time. So
we had a hell of a storm.
Lyle. He's driving for Jose. Jose will get the points. Man, you just get some instant answers right here. Love it.
Yeah, man. Well, we had heard a different car.
I had heard something different initially, but that's good. I mean, no shortage of guys, I'm sure, offering that ride up for Lyle after what happened, and want to see him stay out there, even though Jose.
Knowing Lyle, he's apt to win the son bitch. I mean,
probably
like
so,
just knowing him the way that I do. These are
and he's won Indy.
Night.
He's won Indy. So
yeah, after I'm gonna be there to train him a little bit.
Oh, Lyle, are you ready for training? We have like a little tradition. If you want to win this race, you're gonna have to endure a pretty long night with JT.
Apt to hell going to. Hey man,
hey,
I'm here for it. I love these feel good stories of the summer. I think Lyle, you know what? Lyle, Scott Tidwell Racing, that whole crew, they're due. Like they've had a top flight car. Lyle's obviously one of the best drivers in the category, especially from a consistency standpoint. I don't know that you can ask for more than he gives you behind the wheel of a race car. It's just like the stars and moon haven't aligned on game day, and God knows they're due. I think just so that
Lyle says he's out of training.
Lyle knows here. Our boy Jason Beatty from the bartender.
Oh my God!
At the embassy has checked in with us to see when we're going to be there. He's waiting for us. So.
Oh my goodness! I'm terrified that you're getting text from the bartender at the embassy.
Praying. He's like,
yeah.
Lord, please help me to survive this weekend. With
JT. You're fine. You're fine.
I'm just glad to see you praying. That's good, right?
You have to pray.
Certain things, man. You got to pray for.
Yeah, certain things, man. Oh my goodness, what a deal! I'm excited for Indy, man. I think this is 20 years in a row for me. 20 years straight.
20 years in a row.
That's wild, man. You're getting old. Jesus.
I know. Don't remind me, prick. But it's no. I mean,
I do have
20 years straight of going to this race.
I do have the opening odds for the event winner and the favorites here. Let's take a look at them real quick. So there is you're
promoting your show on my show.
Yeah, you like that?
See where this is going. All right.
Cross promotion.
Right, cross promotion.
Yeah.
Doug Coletta, a big time favorite to win. Austin Prock, no shock there. Greg Anderson. I'm sure Erica would be prepared to argue with that. And then Pro Stock Motorcycle, Gage Herrera, another one that's not necessarily a shock. Oh, I guess Doug's not a big favorite. Or yeah, he is. He's
no. Yeah, one day Wes will get this. Gage is the big favorite.
Gage is the big favorite.
Yeah,
but there's no one. So the odds on Doug,
these are the favorites out of each class.
These are the favorites, but Doug is still a long shot. He's still got the worst odds of all of these.
But the best of Top Fuel.
The best of Top Fuel.
Yes. Yep.
Which is just crazy. I mean, these
I know,
numbers,
you
talk about it on who you got.
Someone who's a more clear cut favorite.
Yeah.
I mean, holy shit.
So that means $100 bet on Doug Kalita will net you $775.
Well, yeah, $875 after you place the bet. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean,
but $100 placed on Gage will get you 100. What is it, JT?
It'll get $100 bet on Gage will get you like what, $19? Is that right?
No.
Or
$19.
No,
80
or $119.
$81.
$81 or 80. Yeah, here. Oh,
yeah.
I have no idea.
It's more confusing when you go the other direction. It
is confusing when you go the other direction. And I'm good at this shit usually. Yeah.
Clearly not.
I mean, JT's supposed to. I'm trying to like validate your expertise in this, JT, and you're really letting us down.
You know, one nice thing about all these apps these days, when you type it in,
it tells you how much you win.
It literally tells you. Yes.
Bet 190.
Yeah, Scott's got it right. Yeah, when you go the other direction, you got to bet 190 to get 100. So it nets you.
Yeah,
$90.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Scott. Glad people are watching to help JT with his
tune in to Who You Got for expert betting.
I'm doing pretty damn good on that, to be honest with you.
It's I personally think that I find it crazy that the best odds are that long of odds in Top Fuel. Like I can't believe that there's not a more clear-cut favorite.
If you go into this betting and you do it like JT, where he basically put money on the entire field, the money is good. I mean, you put $5 on a plus 775 Doug Kalita. I don't know what that math is. I'm not going to sit here and try to figure that out. But it's you know, I mean, that's a good. You're still going to get quite a bit of money. I mean, it's like really.
This is how far behind drag racers are on sports gambling that we're on here. Like, well, you'll get some money. Like if you win, you'll get some money, and that's pretty much the same shit we all say when we roll through the gate.
The minus 190 is weird when you calculate it because it's the minus 190 is two
drag racers. We're just looking for something to spend money on.
$52.63. If you bet
talk about drag racing, Angel take our money
for real.
Did you hear me? So if you bet $100, you would win $52.63. Your payout would be $152.63. So it is weird when you go the other way there. So just letting you know. It's not as easy as the plus.
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you my secret. I don't like to bet. I like long shot odds. And that's why I'm good multiplying the other way. I'm betting on, plus anything.
I've never bet on a sporting
plus 100, plus 200. That's what I'm betting. I'm not going the other way.
Somebody put 100 on Coletta for me. Is that a good bet?
Just for instance, like Corey Reed had I don't know, it was like 8,000 or plus,
it was like plus 1,800,
8,700 odds or something like that.
If anybody's got an account, I want to bet. I think I get banned from NHRA though.
Yeah, you're gonna get banned for that.
So did Ida, and so I mean when you
JT, what's Greg Enders, Erica's
then you just throw $5 or $10 down there.
JT, what's the odds on Erica?
I'd have to go look it up.
Well, that's what I'm asking. You're like our genius.
Erica's got to be right behind Greg.
I just got the email, so I haven't looked through everything, but let me get it real quick.
The way they crunch these numbers is pretty interesting. They kind of gave us a crash course on it and how they arrive, who's the favorite, and how they go down from there. But they don't have a lot of historical data. We ran into this with the World Series of Pro Mod, looking into
the winter
insurance policy and that whole deal where they have so much historical data on these stick and ball sports. They're able to more confidently make these projections. For drag racing, it's just like, we don't think any of these guys are going to win.
I think it's going to, we got some cool stuff we were working on for Drag Illustrated Winter Series. That's just going to take a little bit more time than I wanted to give it because of exactly what Mike's talking about. Like, there's not like a and I think it's a reason why the Drag Illustrated top 8 is so important, because there's really not a lot of centralized like databases.
There's like none
of all these happenings. You know what I mean? And like it's it's all so bastardized, where Pro Mod's a little different out here versus out there versus there in every class, right? There's 10-5 racing in Minnesota is maybe not the same as 10-5 racing in Texas. So it's a really difficult things to like create the information needed for someone to run odds on.
I've got your odds right here, Greg. Erica's plus 600. Dallas Glenn is plus 550. So that's on DraftKings. That's what I'm seeing right now on DraftKings.
JT's our resident,
but I'm not betting.
Alicia's
I'm not betting. Somebody, I'm making a disclaimer. Mike Carpenter is not betting on NHRA drag racing via DraftKings. He's just looking at the app. He's just scrolling.
I hit on Jim Park says he hit on Corey Reed for 200. Somebody, one of you guys, JT, do you have an account? Bet me 100 on Doug Coletta.
Listen to this. For Pro Stock Motorcycle, it goes from Gage Herrera at minus 195, which is a heavy favorite. The next is Matt Smith at plus 450. That's a huge gap.
Holy shit!
But you won't probably ever see in ever again somebody with those odds that Gage has had throughout since they started the betting, because he was so dominant that
we need to get Gage on the show.
You'll never see that again. I swear. You'll never see that.
But then the third favorite in NHRA or in Pro Stock Motorcycle is Chase Van Zandt plus 1,600. So it goes from minus 195.
Put 100 on Chase for me.
Plus 450 to plus 1,600. That's the top.
I want to win the Chase. We need Chase to win now, real bad.
So that I mean, it tells you kind of what these odds makers see about the field. They feel like it's Gage by a long shot, then maybe Matt, and then really it's just the rest of the field.
I think JT makes an interesting point, because I don't know that we'll ever see that type of swing like that one.
You won't.
Because big of a favorite.
It's basically, well, I mean, like the only time you've seen something dominant like that I can think of is maybe when Tiger Woods was on his tear, way back in the day, and it was like, you can take Tiger Woods or the field. Yeah. I mean, really, but that's kind of what that is, really.
Greg Enders said to put 2,500 on Erica. If you did that, your payout would be 17,500.
Yeah. Michael in the comments on YouTube, appreciate you following along, brother. How many days will the Winter Series Snowbirds run? It'll be the same format as it has been historically. It'll be a Thursday, Friday, or a Friday, Saturday, Sunday event. So World Series will be the only one that ends on Saturday this year. We're looking to maybe change that. I would really like to have some consistency across the board at our events with scheduling, but because there's already a Radial Outlaws event that is part of US Street Nationals, and Bradenton has historically had a big like Night of Fire type event, jet show, wheel standard, that type of stuff, fireworks. We've got to weave our programs together, so we don't want to upset the apple cart and try to do too much too fast. So anyways, for 2024-25, the Snowbird Outlaw Nationals and the US Street Nationals will remain Friday, Saturday, Sunday events, with the World Series of Pro Mod switching to Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So stoked about it. Verstappen had negative odds last year in F1 after winning 18 times in a row. I mean, it's
18 times in a row, though. I mean, like and I'm talking drag racing. So
I love how we're just killing our whole conversation that we could have had tomorrow night on who you got. So now what are we going to talk about, JT? We have to come up with new. We're going to come up with new content.
I don't got to talk on that one, do I?
No, you're off. You're out.
You'll be
kissing babies and stuff.
Oh yeah. Oh, loads of fun. Cruz wanted me to bring.
You got anything to sign?
To bring the vet? No, I don't.
We need to get you some hero cards made.
I guess so.
I got those Racers Club ones I can bring.
I want to get some vintage black and white 8x10s. Yeah. Just a headshot.
No, that'd be perfect. Glamour shot.
You should do a senior picture pose. Like pose and put it like leather jacket on or something.
That's actually fantastic idea.
Kind of glamour it up, glamour shot. Look,
get some volume in my hair.
Definitely.
Give us a pose, and then we're going to screenshot it, and we'll get those printed. We'll have them ready for tomorrow night.
Have them ready. Hey, man, that would be fantastic, because, no, I don't have anything to sign. I guess I'll bring copies of the magazine and sign those like I normally do. JT, bring some copies of the magazine with you from the office, will you? I've only got.
Yeah,
like
I actually have those hero cards.
Oh, bring those as well.
Oh, that's right. We did do hero cards.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, bring some of those hero cards. Yeah.
Yep.
We'll go to JCPenney's. Yeah, man. I'm excited for the YellowBullet Nationals. Big weekend for the sport of drag racing. It really is. This is the best time of year, man. When the fall rolls around and you can maybe get away with wearing a hoodie out to the racetrack.
Not this weekend.
Not this weekend.
Not Friday.
Yeah, not this weekend, but hopefully soon, guys.
JT's going shirtless possibly on Friday.
Oh yeah. Are you? Is that a true story?
Didn't know that, but I don't think anybody wants to see me shirtless.
We would get some good content, man. We need to do that.
Full Bert Kreischer. Just pull the deal, and you could be the machine.
Dude,
you know
back
what?
in the day,
man,
back in the day, if you look at any photos or video from like the 70s at drag races, damn near every dude was shirtless.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, back then everybody was shirtless at the golf course, and I mean, yeah, it's a different time.
On planes, everything, right?
Yeah,
everywhere you went, smoking a cigarette, drinking a Budweiser, no big deal. Right, another day in paradise, guys. Thank you so much.
When you're on a flight and there's an ashtray in the in the bathroom, you're like,
"Are you flying Spirit?"
A little dated, huh? You know,
yeah,
a little dated.
Yeah, a little dated. No big deal. These planes were built in 1975. You know, no big deal. Can we have JT back at year-end finale? Yeah, we got to go down and see Raul. Let's pick a race and go see Raul and the gang at South Georgia Motorsports Park, man. They got the place looking great. I got to give it up to Raul. Yep. Drag racing in the Southeast United States is just, it feels like it's on fire in so many different ways. There's a lot of good things happening down there. We need to go down. Mike Hill's big year-end finale. One of these days, hopefully I'll have a car that I can go run in those races. Any TV or YouTube of those races, says Jim from Texas. NHRA, you can tune in to the NHRA broadcast on Fox Sports. I believe one of the days or maybe eliminations will be on Fox, Big Fox, but also NHRA.tv. I think it's like, what, $99 for the entire year? Is that right?
I think it's
right
up
around
to like $189.
Yeah.
Oh, is it that high?
Yeah, it's only about double that.
Okay, well, it's double that, but that's just what I heard somewhere. But anyways, yeah, you can watch along.
I put it on my wife's credit card. And she's like,
I put it on the DI credit card.
What is this charge? And I was like, I couldn't think of what the hell I charged on her credit card. And
NHRA.tv.
Yeah. And then about a couple weeks later, I was like, oh yeah, that was me.
Yeah, I know what it was.
He's
asking about World Series. Oh,
she gets
Flow Racing, the home of Drag Illustrated content, racing content. Yeah, you'll be able to watch along, Jim, on flowracing.com. Check Flow Racing out. Longtime partners of ours here at Drag Illustrated, man. YellowBullet, you'll be able to follow along with, I'm assuming, Jay Warren, NC Pro Motor, or in Motormania.tv.
Motormania.
Okay, it's on Motormania. Okay.
Yep.
Motormania.tv. All right, guys. Well, hey, great show. Thank you all. Thanks to all of our sponsors. Again, Stroud Safety, Redline Synthetic Oils. I just got a case of fresh Redline 0-weight oil to put in the old Corvette before we go make our shakedown runs. Exciting to get you guys down here and we can go race a little bit. But yeah, man, appreciate you guys. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Oh, yeah. Get your Make Drag Racing Great Again shirt.
Yep. In the Drag Illustrated store.
Make JT big for a second. Show your shirt.
You say? Oh,
yeah. Make drag racing great again. Thank you, guys. We'll see you next Wednesday, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on the Drag Illustrated YouTube channel and Facebook page. Thank you for helping us spread the gospel of drag racing. We'll see you at the racetrack.
See you in Indy tomorrow.
And we'll be live tomorrow. Yep, at probably around 7 or so tomorrow for Who You Got on here.